All right. Once again, welcome to Wednesday Slides number 54. We're going to get started now. Let me share the screen.
There you go.
If everything is working, you should see the title.
Yeah, nice looking cheesecake.
There you go. Okay. Away we go. We got a variety today. But we're going to start off with what I did this past weekend. And that was I headed out to the Station Inn. The Station Inn in Crescent, Pennsylvania, is having its 30th anniversary. It was 30 years ago, Saturday, that Tom Davis, the original, well, not the original owner of the building, but the original owner of the Station Inn, purchased the property and opened it up as a rail fan bed and breakfast. To celebrate the 30th anniversary, the new owners, Alex and Leah Lang, had a street festival and a nice celebration. So Friday, I headed out and I stopped at Mexico, Pennsylvania, on the former Pennsylvania Railroad main line, got Amtrak's westbound Pennsylvania. It was not my intent to chase the train, although it was heading the same direction that I was. I stayed at Mexico, shot another eastbound train, stopped for a snack, drove along, got out to Hollidaysburg, and I said, I wonder where Amtrak is. I called up the train tracker app, looked at it, and Amtrak somehow lost a half an hour between Mexico and Altoona. So it was still in Altoona. So you know what? I can beat it up to Crescent. So off I went and got it coming out of the tunnels, coming out of Gallitzin, near the top of the Allegheny Mountains. From there, I headed over to Crescent, and there was a storm blowing just to the north that was providing some pretty dramatic clouds. Here we see a eastbound coal train coming through Crescent. And a train pointing west with those that storm off in the distance. And then we got some fairly black sky here with a westbound train. Crescent is the top of the grade. This train here would have just gone around Horseshoe Curve probably 15, 20 minutes earlier. The next morning, I did some of the local rail fanning sites, including Cassandra, where a closed road bridge, small bridge, one lane, crosses over the main line. It is now an official rail fan hangout overlook with picnic tables and stuff. Here we see a eastbound train coming up the hill from Johnstown. And then Crescent at the top of the hill will be another 3 or 4 miles ahead of this train. Got this real narrow cut.
Got the light just right on that one.
Yeah, this narrow cut really makes it a challenge early in the morning. This is the view the other direction. This is a westbound train. And this is the back end, the pushers on that westbound train. A lot of trains, most trains get pushers out of Altoona. Sometimes the pushers get cut off at Crescent. Sometimes they stay on all the way to Johnstown. In this case, they stayed on. There's a new rail fanning spot that's opened up one town up between Cassandra and Crescent in Lilly. They built a new Dollar General, and this grade crossing area here has been completely cleared out. It's not much of a shop, but you can see westbound trains coming literally a mile or two away as they come into Crescent. This is the westbound train here. Norfolk Southern's been running a lot of these ex-BNSF engines that are now leasers. Second unit there. Same place looking the other direction. That's actually a helper set on a westbound train. And we're looking west here. The Dollar General is just up the hill to the left-hand side here. So photographically, it's kind of meh, but if you just want to watch trains, it's a pretty decent spot. After all the festivities at the Station Inn, here we see some of the rail. No, this is actually Friday night. Or my Saturday slides got no, one of my Saturday afternoon slides got to. Anyhow, this is Saturday night after the festivities. Some rail fans watching trains go by in Crescent. I had some other shots in here. Must have gotten lost in the computer crash. Oh well. On Sunday, we went over to the Everett Railroad. They had a private car reserved for us for a run down to Sproul. This was the first passenger train from Hollidaysburg down to Sproul in probably 30 some odd years. They just got the line upgraded from accepted track up to class 1 trackage. They've been running freight down there, but this was the first passenger train. So since there were some rail fans on board, we were actually one car of the regular advertised trains, public trips for the day. But since there are rail fans on board, we did a photo run by in Claysburg. And boy, that Exley High Valley switcher sure is bright, even on a cloudy day. And this is down at Sproul at the end of the line at the runaround. From there, I headed for home, and as I'll often do anymore, I'll go about halfway or so, or at least find a decent train watching spot about halfway, and then pull over and just take a break for about an hour and a half, and we'll see what comes. This time I stopped in Mattawanna, which is between Mount Union and Lewistown on the Pennsylvania main line. I got the westbound Pennsylvanian. This shot here, I got cloud dinked. I did my Lightroom trick where I selected the sky, got the sky the way I liked it, then selected the sky again, inverted it so that all the non-sky stuff was selected, and then messed with that as far as saturation and brightness and things like that, try to balance everything out. With the bright sky back there, the raw shot is just everything other than the sky is completely dark. This is an eastbound Norfolk Southern intermodal train. This is all in Mattawanna. Another one. Stack train this time. And there's some interesting buildings here you can frame up. It's an okay location. The houses, FedEx trailer train. And a lot of BNSF power, leasers and still BNSF owned locomotives going through here. We're going to change gears here for a second. And a lot of slides missing. This is kind of sad. Tell you what, let me stop the screen and share for a minute. Boy, this new operating system is really giving me some. I'm gonna stop the screen share for a second and tell you a little bit about this next set of slides. The next set of slides are taken at a place called the Pagoda in Reading, Pennsylvania. I went to the Pagoda for the first time eons ago with my dad. It was a good place to look at downtown Reading. It's high up on Mount Penn, looking down on the city of Reading. And as a kid, the Pagoda always fascinated me. Always fascinated by it. And then over the years, even though I didn't get back up there again to see it, I always try to include it in photos. Here we see a scene of Reading 2102 back in 1986 or so. And there's the Pagoda off to the left-hand side of the scene. And then a couple of years ago at the Reading Air Show, did this night shot. And that little dot down there that's red underneath the wing on the left-hand side next to the left-hand engine, that's the Pagoda up on Mount Penn. Yeah, you can't tell it's the pagoda, but it's, I kind of wanted to get it in there, so. So anyhow, I finally got back up to the pagoda this past month, to do some photography. It was built as the first part of a resort that was going to be put up on Mount Penn. The rest of the resort was never built, and 2 years later, the pagoda was donated to the city of Reading. So it's now a city-owned building. The lighting was added in the 70s. Originally, it was neon lighting. It was replaced around 2011 with these LEDs. It's 7 stories tall. It's pretty cool. Then as it got darker, I started messing around. I was trying to work the trees and pagoda together. This looked cool through the camera. It doesn't look very cool as a picture. So this really didn't work out the way I hoped. This shot here worked out a little bit better. And that's probably my favorite with the trees in. And then the moon came out. This is from the parking lot looking up at it. So I finally got back to the pagoda. Going to change gears again here. We're going to now do a flashback of sorts. We're going to go back in time here. I was trying to fill the show out with something. I didn't know exactly what to put in here. I was a few slides short. So I said, hey, let me dig out some of my old Conrail office car special shots, just to add some throwback stuff to the program. Here you see Conrail's office car special train, the business train, with an E8 in the lead. This is going through the marshlands near Wilmington, Delaware. It's Wilmington in the background there. And crossing over Staruka Viaduct in Lanesboro, Pennsylvania. The office car trains are quite the thing to chase back in the 1990s, because there was usually decent information about where and when they would be running a few days in advance. So you could really get out and do these. Another view of Staruka. This is not with a drone, not from a helicopter. This is actually from a mountainside, looking down on the bridge, Erie Bridge. And coming out of Port Jervis, New York. This is in Pennsauken, New Jersey, a place called Cove, when the OCS office car special came down to South Jersey. Another South Jersey scene on the old Pennsylvania Reading seashore lines, going past the depot in Sewell. Up on the southern tier, which is goes across the southern tier of counties in New York State. The old Erie line here was one of the last holdouts for semaphores. The semaphores vanished probably around 2000 or so. But in the 1990s, they were still there. This is in Hancock, New York, on a real snowy, bitter cold day. This is at Bear Mountain, Iona Island, on the old West Shore line. Hudson River will be just off to the right-hand side here. On the ex-Reading main line, this is in Lyons, Pennsylvania. The town of Reading is probably about 10, 12 miles ahead of the train here. Allentown would be behind it. Back on the southern tier at Tioga Center. Pair of semaphores still there. And this is at the Amtrak station in Wilmington, Delaware. OCS at the station as an Amtrak train behind a AM7 comes in. Going to change gears again here. Some more current stuff. Me and heritage units that are painted by various railroads to honor their predecessors. Whenever a heritage unit and I get within 30 miles of each other, the weather just goes completely south, and it's horrible. However, I did luck out a couple of times. New Jersey Transit's locomotive painted for the Central Railroad of New Jersey was in captive service on the shuttle train that runs between Long Branch and Bayhead Junction on the North Jersey coastline. I was able to get out and get a couple of shots of that as it shuttled back and forth over the course of the day. The boats are lining up for the lift bridge that's located actually at the rear of the train. This is a train that is heading north. There's the it's actually a Bascule Bridge. There's the Bascule Bridge. Town of Brielle on the far side there. I'm in Point Pleasant, New Jersey, on this side of the Manasquan River. Convenient place to shoot trains, a lot of good things to shoot. And then I got word that one of CSX's new heritage units, this one painted for the Chessie system, was coming north on the old B&O over by Wilmington. So I went over to Chester, Pennsylvania, and shot it coming north. CSX has painted 3 heritage units so far. There are more on the way.
Rumor has it that Conrail is the next one.
Is it? Okay. And rumor has it the Seaboard system one is heading our direction on Thursday and Friday. So
It went up north. No, actually came south through here yesterday morning, which I was able to catch.
Okay.
And I caught the 1973 on Sunday afternoon going north.
Nice. These take a little bit of getting used to. I call them the mullet engines because they're all CSX business up front, but all party in the back. And it takes some getting used to. No other railroad has ever tried heritage units quite like this before, this kind of a paint scheme. My only complaint with the Chessie system engine is I remember Chessie system putting the letters huge and big and bold on the side of their engines. And this Chessie system on the side of this one here is just a little too small.
Yeah, they did the same thing with the B&O. I haven't seen it in person really to photograph it yet. Just caught a glimpse of it once, but B&O is the same way. It's small lettering.
Now, what I've seen of the Seaboard system engine, it looks pretty good. Okay. We're heading over to Camden, New Jersey for our photo shoot on the Battleship New Jersey. This was organized by Laro Photography, Pete Laro and his crew. And it's a World War II pinup photo session. So our 3 ladies are here ready to get onto the Battleship New Jersey, which is obviously there in the background. And the way we went, this is a gun that's on display outside of the battleship. We did some poses there. It does take 2 people to get a girl into the gun. We did some exterior shots. There was a threat of thunderstorms, and a lot of them did hit us all day long. We got a few exterior shots in between storms. And then we went inside the ship, and we had pretty much the run of the ship. The folks who operate the Battleship New Jersey did assign us a chaperone as we went around, but it was good to have them around so we could ask them if we could move stuff, things like that, if we needed to. This is with some hijinks between official shots. One of the girls got into a sea bag and was being carried around. The ship was open to the public during while we were here, and the self-guided tour goes everywhere on the ship. So we always, wherever we were, we had people walking past us, and they would walk past us doing like a shot here, and they would stop and look, and they were kind of wondering. We actually had one group that actually went in and posed with our model here for this shot.
What kind of lighting was Pete using for this, Steve?
Pete brought in two fixed LED lights on light stands. And then he also had a smaller LED light on one of those three-legged octopus kind of tripod thingies you can tie around pipes or railings or hang almost anywhere, and use that for some fill light.
Nice.
This is one of those instances where we had our chaperone let us do something that is off limits usually. These beds here aren't open to the public, but we were allowed to use them for photos. Of course, got some of the guys involved. A little bit of a Brady Bunch look going on here. And there's always time for some fun. Back outside again. That's Pete Laro, who organized it all, right there, dead center.
Did Pete take any pictures, or was he just part of the props?
Pete, for most of the scenes, Pete took photos himself. For a handful of the scenes where he got into the shot, he had somebody else work his camera for him.
Love that shot with the gal making like she's holding up the projectile.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny.
This is a shot we did up on the deck. Now, I was a little disappointed we weren't going to do a whole lot of deck shots because of the weather, and we'd be mostly inside. But as it turns out, I actually preferred being inside because inside you can control the environment a whole lot better. Here we are outside, and you'll notice Pete with the binoculars up top there looking down. But outside here, of course, you got things like the lights along the railing, which the ship wouldn't have had in working days. The lights on the light posts, that was added to the ship. Of course, the cargo ship and the cranes in the background, and even those yellow steps there going up to the gun. They're a modern addition for visitors. There wasn't anything quite that fancy back in the working days. So as it turned out, I was kind of happy we wound up spending most of our time indoors. There's Raquel with the city of Philadelphia in the background. One of the photographers noted that light there, which was actually for signaling between ships in Morse code, was highly reflective. You'll see what we did with that in a few seconds here. This is from the signal bridge, not the control bridge, but the signal bridge. So we use the signal lamp, and actually had a pretty decent reflection through it. Back inside again. There's some cool stuff on the ship to use for photo props. It's really a neat place to shoot.
That should be captioned, oops.
Yeah. And the guys got involved in the photos too. This is in the engine room. I signed up for this because I wanted to do it once. I thought, okay, I'll sign up for one of these photo shoots. I'll do it once, and that way I'll be done with it. But this is a whole lot of fun. I may have to go back and do another one of these. And the girls are all great. They do a lot of reenacting events. They do you'll find them dressed in French clothing. Yeah, French clothing at like the World War II event out in Reading, at the French Village. They do other World War II stuff. They're really good. So that's a little bit from a Pete Laro World War II pinup photo shoot. It's a heck of a lot of fun. I'm going to change gears one more time. And after I finished up at the Pagoda that same Friday night, I headed up to Port Clinton, where Reading 2102 was getting prepped for a trip. Did a couple of night shots there. Then the next day I went chasing from North Reading to Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania. Here's engineer Shane Fredrickson getting ready to bring the engine out of Port Clinton in the morning. The engine itself was in Port Clinton. The train was down in North Reading, getting ready for passengers. So they backed the engine south, the 12 or 15 miles or so, tender first down to North Reading. Here it is backing out of Port Clinton, ready to go down to its train. Then the chase begins. My first shot was in Mooresville. This is a grab shot coming up into Port Clinton. Didn't know if I'd beat it here or not. Beat it by just a couple of seconds. So I couldn't quite get in position to find a spot where there weren't any weeds sticking up. I was chasing with a friend who had not chased the 2102 before. So I did a combination of stuff I have never done before and some greatest hits that I thought he would like to get. This is near Molino at Miller's Crossing, nice broadside. Won't be there much longer because the corn is growing up. Coming up the grade near Barnesville, Pennsylvania. Whistle blowing, all that white steam there. And same place, different focal length lens. Coming past the searchlight signals at Barnesville. Really working hard, loud locomotive, really cool to see. From here, from Barnesville, where that signal was, the locomotive the train makes a huge loop. Upgrade, it's going pretty slow, a pretty decent sized loop. Meanwhile, the road from that signal up over the hill is only a mile or two. So you can drop down and almost immediately capture this shot here with no trouble at all. Even though the train is only about 2 miles by road, 4 miles by rail, but it's a pretty easy double shot to get. Same place, wider lens. And this is coming up to the tunnel, which is really a highway overpass. The tunnel just outside of Nesquehoning, Pennsylvania. Here it's all downhill, and with the train drifting, you can't hear the engine at all. There's no rod slap, no hissing, no nothing. The locomotive is dead silent. The sound of the consist rolling along is much louder than the locomotive is. When it's not working, it's not working. Once it gets into Jim Thorpe, the passengers are unloaded and they have to turn the entire train on a Y up at Nesquehoning Junction. So here we see the train being turned on the Y there. There's another bridge. You can just barely see an edge of it. Just on the right-hand edge of the photo. That's one leg of the Y. So the train backed out across that bridge through the truss bridge on the far left-hand side of the frame, and then pulled forward, and it'll back into Jim Thorpe on the track here in the foreground. That's the back end of the train. After it's now on its way back to Jim Thorpe. Diesel in the back end to guide it the 5 or 6 miles back into Jim Thorpe. And that's the going away shot. There you see the other leg of the Y there on the left-hand edge of the frame. This scene here, the steam engine is actually backing up. After a 4-hour layover in Jim Thorpe, back out it comes. Here we are in Nesquehoning. The buildings to the left-hand side were just purchased by the Reading and Northern. They're going to put rail into those buildings and use them as their passenger car shop. Some of the photo line watching the train come out of Nesquehoning. Going past the ex-Reading Depot in Tamaqua. If you've gotten the new U.S. postal stamps from your post office that have stations on them, Tamaqua is one of the featured stations. Back at Miller's Crossing near Molino, across the cornfield again, other direction. Then after it stopped at Port Clinton to unload passengers, I scooted down to Hamburg, Pennsylvania, and got a couple of shots of it coming through there. Then from there, beat feet down to North Reading and got it coming into the end of the trip. This whole facility at North Reading is brand new. The tower is new construction from the Reading and Northern. You can see all the cars there in the parking lot waiting to get for people getting off the train. Quite the place. And I'm going to wrap things up here with the some 4th of July shots. Usually I have a conflict with 4th of July fireworks. I usually watch my hometown fireworks over in Woodstown on the 4th. But this year they had them on the 2nd because the fireworks company had a conflict. So I was able to do my own fireworks on the 2nd in Woodstown, and then get over to Hockessin, Delaware for the first time in years to see the fireworks display there, which I wanted to do because the Wilmington and Western brings up a trainload of people from Green Bank, Delaware, outside Wilmington, up to Hockessin. And then they park the engine right in the field next to where the fireworks are set off. So we got a few shots here of fireworks. I used a couple of small studio lights, fixed LED lights, to light the locomotive up. One light left, one light right. To give some illumination to the locomotive. Then just took a variety of shots, all handheld, as the fireworks went off.
Steve, when you say lights, are they strobes or actual lights?
They're actual lights. In fact, if you look over the shoulder, the left shoulder of the guy standing up on the right-hand side of the screen, next to the caboose there, you'll see one of the lights sticking up there.
Gotcha.
The other light is behind the phone pole there. Actually, it's further back, just off the left edge of the frame. Let's think about hand holding fireworks photos is if you use a tripod to go for a longer exposure, you might get longer trails on the fireworks. But the problem is fireworks tend to move horizontally in the sky with the wind. So your trails tend to get wider and blurrier if you use a long exposure. With the modern digital cameras, all this stuff can be done handheld. This is at like 10,000 ISO, maybe 8,000 ISO. at about the 60th of a second at 4. I wound up shooting 195 frames during the 20-minute fireworks display. You're not going to see all 195 frames tonight. In fact, this is the last one. This is the grand finale. Somehow during the grand finale, I managed to put the locomotive too close to the bottom of the frame and cut off the wheels a little bit there. So that is going to wrap up tonight's show. The next show is August 16th. That's the Wednesday after I get back from Summer Rail. August is one of those months where it has five Wednesdays in it. So this show is a little bit on the early side, but August 16th is going to be the next show. I'm going to sign this off for the YouTubers now and see all of them on the 16th. And I will stop the screen share.